speech from the Humorous Speech Manual, project number 3, Make Them Laugh. Her objectives are to open and close with a humorous story and include jokes throughout the body of the speech, and to deliver the jokes and the story smoothly and effectively. She has 5 to 7 minutes.
Tina is a star of her own movie. It's a hockey movie. I'm making this up. She told me to.
Okay.
She is the all-star goalie for her hockey team.
She's got too many teeth.
She wears a mask, and that protects her. The speech title for Tina Clinebell: Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are, Tina Clinebell.
The other day, I boarded a flight from Phoenix to Newark. As I was boarding, I could tell from the dread on people's faces it was going to be a full flight, there were going to be words exchanged over overhead space, and it was going to be a long 3-hour and 97-minute flight, gate to gate from Phoenix to Newark. Fellow Toastmasters, and to our 2 guests today, I travel a lot, and I know we've had a distinguished Toastmaster in our club tell us once before, wherever you go, there you are. And it couldn't be more true. In the last month, there I have been at least 12 times. And although it would be nice to give speeches about all the different places that I've been to over the last month, sometimes the funniest things happen on the journey getting there than the actual places that I go to. A perfect example was this Monday morning going from Phoenix to Newark. The doors had closed. I was sitting in my aisle seat about row 12 of the airplane, and I was just checking out my fellow passengers, looking around, trying to see, maybe Alec Baldwin was on the flight still playing Scrabble with his friends. There were a few of those, door was closed, playing with their little phones. And I could tell, too, it was 8 o'clock in the morning already. I could smell people's sushi and Whoppers and French fries. And I think what was most obvious to all the passengers was right in front of me, in about row 11, was a woman that was traveling with 2 small children. One was an infant, the other about 5 years old. The infant, you could tell, was preparing to not have a great time, lifting off into the sky. And the 5-year-old sitting to her other side totally forgot to pack his library voice, because you could hear absolutely everything that was going on internally in this child's mind. So we have the announcements regarding safety, and we're taking off, and of course, as expected, the child sitting in the row in front of me starts full throttle testing her lungs, and screaming, and colicky, and everybody's looking, as usual, on the airplane, as if this mother was supposed to be doing something. You could tell she was mortified. And then out of nowhere, this sweet, angelic-looking child, about 5 years old and about row 3, stands up on his chair, turns around, so this kid's now looking at the entire full flight, and says, "Hey, what's going on back there? Everything okay?" Thank you, dear child, for making that trip memorable, and making me think that even though traveling has become such a chore, to the extent that people don't really like to even go and travel by airplane anymore, there are some funny moments, and there are some people who are trying to make travel easier. By show of hands, can I see how many have been on an airplane in the last year? Show of hands? In the last year? Okay, now please keep your hand up if you enjoy going through airport security. Okay, and by show of hands, who here loves to pack all their liquids into a Ziploc bag?
It's great.
We have one person that loves to do that. And can I ask, just again, by show of hands, how many people enjoy taking their shoes off and walking around barefoot in public, going through security? Nobody? How about the free mammogram that you get from the security personnel?
Oh, no, that I like.
I like to assist that.
Couple? Okay. Well,
I'm up for that.
just making sure you were paying attention. Now, of those that traveled in the last year, how many flew Southwest? A couple? Okay, so you understand this is an airline that really does not take very much seriously. And I noticed this coming back from a friend's wedding. We were going from Ontario through Las Vegas back to Reno. Short, quick little flights. But let me just share with you how entertaining the flight was coming home. Even before we boarded, we had a comedian board our flight in Ontario. And let me explain what I mean. With Southwest, they board by zones or groups. So you've got Group A, Group B, Group C. So even at the Group C stage, he said, okay, everybody with the most desirable, like Group C boarding passes, I'd like you to line up. So it was funny even just getting on because you knew it was going to be a full flight, you knew it wasn't going to be much fun traveling, but they really did try to make it fun. So once they boarded us on that flight, they started with the announcements. And the announcements were pretty comical. They pretty much said, you know, if you've never been in a moving vehicle since the 1960s, we're going to now show you how to operate a seatbelt. And then they continued to explain that this was a non-smoking flight. It's only about a 40-minute flight to Vegas from Ontario. But the flight attendant did say for those that must have a smoke during this short 40-minute flight, we do have a patio. We actually have 2 patios on this flight for you where you can go enjoy your cigarette. They're located on either wing. And tonight we have a special classic movie that will be playing for all of you as well that decide to use our patio entitled Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
And this went on to the point where I've never seen them actually play games on the flight, but they must have been bored that night. So they played a game with toilet paper where the flight attendant said, we're going to show you how powerful our toilets are on board. She took a roll of toilet paper, stuck the one end in the toilet, and then decided to walk down the aisle with the toilet paper till she got to the first row. You know, then she said, okay, now I'm going to flush the toilet. Wherever the toilet paper stops, free drinks for that whole row. So as you can imagine, it was way more entertaining than your typical flight. And it didn't even stop there, because when we landed in Vegas, even our pilot was funny. He came overhead and said, ladies and gentlemen, we have landed safely in Las Vegas. Please be very careful when taking your items out of the overhead compartment, because shift happens. Now, get out. So, ladies and gentlemen, next time you're traveling by air, take the look of dread off your face. It can be fun, it can be entertaining, and look for the funny kids, look for the funny flight attendants, the pilots, and have a safe journey. Mr. Toastmaster.